And good morning. Happy Saturday 11th, 2023. I want to thank you for being here with us. I'm Willie Howe. If you need IT consulting or just need to reach out, head on over to williehowe.com, click hire us or contact us, and fill out that form, and someone will be in touch with you as soon as possible. Once again, thank you to everyone for being here. So, I've gotten on this kick. I've been creating some infographics or working on creating some infographics. And it would help if my mic was on. I got so excited to start the stream, I forgot to put the mic on the up on the table. Thanks, Unky Joe. So, good morning, James, CH, Dave, Gina, Unky Joe, Sean, Jeremy, Systech, Dave, Roger, Brian. So, good morning, everybody, for being here. Jordan, Gibby, Cody, Brian. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. So, I've been creating some infographics. There's a couple of topics. If you've been following me for a while, you'll understand that I believe that IT management, IT leaders, especially those in charge of other people. Sometimes companies will give a one-person shop a title like IT manager, IT director. They do this, I don't know, probably has to do with Fair Labor Standards Act stuff and pay and overtime and all that. Or, maybe it is to make somebody, give them some ownership in the role. But good morning, Tony. But I think that people who are in IT leadership roles need to have come from the trenches, right? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with higher education, but how can you manage something or lead somebody if you don't know what they're going through or where they've been in their career, right? So how can you get somebody that only has an MBA, that's only read textbooks, who's going to effectively lead your IT staff or effectively manage your staff? They could be the least empathetic person you've ever seen in your life, and you're not going to know that. So I'm going to release an infographic later today that I'm actually working on right now that gives just about, 6 or 8 sentences that I came up with that talks about why IT leaders and managers should have been boots on the ground or in the trenches at some point and promoted their way up or come up through the system. So I'll release that. If you don't follow me on Twitter, go to the link down below, hit Twitter. I'll probably do a reading of it on TikTok. I'll probably make it a YouTube short, but you'll be able to download. I'm going to have Tim create a section for infographics that we're creating on the website. I don't know if it'll be available there, but it'll definitely be available on Twitter. Good morning, Alonzo, JH, and Iron Fist. So there is a lot happening in the world of tech. A lot of things happening, and one thing that we are going to talk about here in just a second, as soon as I get the screen pulled up. If you haven't been paying attention to this, so Silicon Valley Bank, they are pretty much insolvent, I think. The feds have stepped in, and it's going to be interesting to see how this falls out. I think they are the 13th largest bank in the United States, something like that. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a banker. But if anybody out in the comments out in the audience has actual banking experience, banking regulation, I believe that the way that the FDIC insurance works is if I walk into my bank and I've got $250 or if I've got $500,000, even if I divide that up into whatever the FDIC maximum is, that I'm only insured one time as a depositor at that financial institution, right? So I can't remember what the FDIC, let me look it up. FDIC insurance limit. How much is it here? $250,000 per depositor per bank, right? So what that means is that when the federal government, when the FDIC comes in and this bank is falling apart, if you've got $500,000 in that financial institution and you have lost it, that the FDIC is only going to cover you up to $250,000, no matter how many accounts you have. So at $250,000, you would have to get all of your $500,000 covered. You'd have to have $250,000 in one organization, and then $250,000 in a different organization. So credit unions are also covered by that. Credit unions have really gained a lot of traction in the States. For, a lot of them, there's no minimum balance required unless it's a business account. They have free overdraft protections. They have the insurance. And at most credit unions, you are an owner. So that means that they take that dividend at the end of the year, and based on some sort of calculation that I don't understand, they distribute those monies back to the members. But this is definitely going to cause some real ripples across the United States for sure. And I've still got to do a lot more reading about it. This is one of those things where I want to sit back with a nice adult beverage and kind of drill into it and see what's going on. So, yeah, let me know what you think about that. I think it's a crazy thing to even have to talk about in 2023. Let's go over to the comments real quick. Sean says, I agree that you, a leader, should have performed those jobs before. And like myself, I still enjoy doing the dirty work, which helps keep me grounded with what my team experiences. So I will tell you that as a leader, that is one thing that I never do. I never ask my team to do something that I myself haven't done or that I wouldn't do. I think that is very important. So good morning. My mom is here. Good morning. Let's see. Alonzo says, yes, I miss being a field tech. I can't say that I miss being a field tech. Well, I'm still technically a field tech for certain things, right? I'm like a tier 2, tier 3 support for networking items and things like that. But Hunky Joe says, they hand out titles like candy. I got named CTO of a company in February. I am the only employee in their IT department. So you're probably not paid hourly. You're probably on a salary. They probably have the job description written so that you can manage other employees, right? So, Unky Joe, let me know if I'm wrong on any of that, but you're probably a salaried employee and no overtime. And JH says, yeah, $250,000 of insurance per bank. Gibby says, if you are a leader and don't know how to troubleshoot problems, that is a problem. I see it all the time, especially with some of our service providers. Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes people get put in a really bad position where they know the most about technology, and now all of a sudden, boom, you end up being the IT contact or the first line of defense, right? So, and I feel bad for those folks, so it's my goal when I run into people in the field like that, I want to help them, I want to empower them, I want to give them the resources that they need to understand that a little bit more. There are some people who are just inherently egotistical and want to run it and I don't want to be an island. I don't want to be a one-man shop. And I will tell you, without my team, without any of the teams that I lead or that I manage, you are looking at an ineffective product at the end of the day. It's all about the team. No man, no woman, no person is an island. And if they think that, then at some point they're going to find out that they are not an island. So let's see. Good morning, Jason. Alonzo says, I do assist my field techs and in-house. I gain my team's respect by showing my technical knowledge. Absolutely. And I always want people to learn. So I used to do this thing called Learning Fridays, and we haven't been able to do it in a while just because we are short-staffed and crazy, but we would pick a topic and we would spend an hour and a half on the dry erase board going into depth on that topic. Unky Joe says that 93% of the depositors had more than $1 million in Silicon Valley Bank, and Unky Joe is a member of a credit union. So yeah, that's scary. JH says, sad part is the majority of IT still reports to a CFO. So if you are lucky enough to not report to the CFO, and I can give you pages and pages of proof is in the pudding of why IT should not report to the CFO. IT should either report to a CIO, CTO, or directly to the CEO. Because you got to remember that the CFO's role is to count the money in the cash register, right? And when we need to actually spend money, now a lot of us are very resourceful and we can do a lot of things without spending a lot of money. But when we come to you and we're like, we got to spend money, like we got to do it. And if you go with rational explanations and things like that, you're probably going to get pretty far. But there are some CFOs that don't necessarily understand IT. That's not their role, right? Maybe they were exposed and maybe they led an IT department. But if finance is their background, that's fine. You can learn all the acronyms you want, APIs and SMBs and SOHO and all these things, but that doesn't make you an IT person that is what your career has been. So, everybody just needs to know what they don't know and lean on other people for help. Let's see. Good morning, Weibo. Gibby says SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, is for pretty small startup companies that need cash. If this hits bigger banks, then worry. JH says finance people don't know IT. I cannot disagree with you on that. Some of them understand acronyms and can pick up on things. There are people you will find as you go through this world. There are people who can pick up on acronyms and they can get just enough of the vernacular to BS their way through a conversation with somebody that knows nothing. And then there are people who actually aren't just out for themselves and want to rely on the team. And those are the people that are a joy to work with. The people that they write all those articles about, like how to deal with, I can't remember what it's called, like frustrating people. Those are the people that in their mind, they are the end all be all. They are the one source for an organization. And, sooner or later, and especially now, post-pandemic, people are not putting up with bullshit. So we'll see how it works out. Weibo says, awaiting my Enterprise 48 POE today. Crossing fingers it will be here. Well, good luck with that. Gibby says, you are right. I am one of those people, but hourly. He's responding to Unky Joe. I don't think he's talking about the $1 million depositors. I think he's talking about handing out the titles like water. All right, what else we got going on here? Oh, yeah, JH. So, and my wife brought this up this morning when we were talking about this, and JH just brought it up. Roku had 26% of their money. 26% of their money in SVB. That's bad. That's bad. So hopefully payroll checks are going to clear. Sean says, IT is in my organization falls under the operations hierarchy, and thus we fall directly under the COO, which would be the chief operating officer. And that's a more appropriate place than the CFO or finance supervisor or whatever you want to call them. Because also when IT reports to finance, especially in an organization that has to have financial audits every year, if IT reports to the CFO, what is to keep the CFO from putting IT people under duress, stealing from the company, and then forcing IT? A lot of people can be leaned on. A lot of people can be leveraged. And there are people who are experts at looking at people and understanding if they can be leveraged. And so if IT reports to the CFO, what's to keep the CFO from stealing from the organization and then making IT help cover it up? There was a municipality here in Illinois, Dixon, Illinois, where the CFO was stealing millions of dollars and the audit firm never caught it. Now, I'm not saying IT was colluding, but what I'm saying is these kinds of things happen as she bought jewelry and a horse farm and all this other stuff. You can Google it, Dixon, Illinois CFO, and they caught her. So Weibo says, IT support is hard. Any type of support is, as things can go sideways really easily, and sometimes you have to avoid certain things to keep in the stable parts of software and networking gear. Yeah, and people don't understand that, all the nuances to what we do. I had a 2-hour outage window planned for a facility on Thursday morning to cut over to a new internet provider. And I spent an hour the day before, hour and 15 minutes, prepping a new router configuration, looking at it, double checking, making sure that I remembered how the topology was put together. And we had the outage planned from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I got there about 6:45. Because of my pre-planning on that particular site, the longest part of the entire project was getting the Ethernet cable moved from the cable modem to the ONT for the fiber company. I was able to, what I did was I logged into the router, uploaded the new config as the router's rebooting. I'm moving it. I allow 2 hours in case things go sideways because I've been burned. I've been in this business for over 20 years. I've seen a lot of stuff go bad. And I don't want to schedule these on the weekends. Support's not available that I need on the weekends. So I do it during the day, during the week, where I know I'll be able to get support if it's needed. The entire thing, I was out of there by 7:15, and they're like, "What? You had 2 hours?" And I said, "Yeah, I mean, this is why we plan, right? Things go smoothly, they work." And they were very happy. Their phones, internet, and everything else was back up and going. We've got one more conversation we've got to have about getting rid of cable TV and public Wi-Fi, but that's a separate part of the project. So you're absolutely correct. We both things, and when things go bad in IT, they can go bad, really bad. Unky Joe says, "Yep, an officer of the company equal to a VP, so I can make policy. I opened my mouth and offered. They did give me a huge bonus to come on board, and I am happy." So that's awesome, Unky Joe, that you can make policy. But remember, you are not an island. This is my opinion, and we'll see if people in the chat agree with me. But even though you can make policy, your policy should be understood by the rest of the management, by the rest of the officers, and they need to be on board. Because if it's not, and they're not on board, there's going to be no teeth in those policies, and they're going to be impotent, so to speak. Alonzo says, "Agree, team knowledge sharing is a must." Yeah, absolutely. That's why I challenge. So here with Tim and James, we're moving to a CRM so we can keep customer notes and things like that. So as customers are bouncing back and forth. But then also in my other team, I challenge everybody to use the ticket system and put notes into the tickets so that everybody knows what's going on. Tony says, "Can't agree more on the team concept. No room for egos." No, especially when you have a large organization and a small team, absolutely no time for egos. I don't put up with it. You shouldn't put up with it. Management shouldn't put up with it. It really needs to be a team environment. Unky Joe says, "I have everyone here as a team member, not paid," right? That's, what's that old saying? None of us is dumb as all of us. I love that. That's like one of those demotivational posters that people find funny. That's like the one with the fork. Let me see if I can find it while we're talking here. Let's see, images.google.com. I'm talking you through this play by play because all you see is me. Demotivational posters. There's one that I really like that says unique, and it's got a bent fork. Let's see here. I think you've probably all seen this. So I love that people are people, and we're all different. I love that we are all not the same. But when you have somebody who has an ego and they have no reason to have an ego, you can kind of turn to this and don't call them out. Just have this as the little nugget inside you that you can laugh about and walk away, right? Don't escalate situations. I never think that that's a good idea. But look, unique. Just because you're unique does not mean you are useful. You might not be useful in this situation. You may be useful in another situation. I thought I'd share that with you because I thought it was funny, and I think it hits the nail on the head sometimes, right? So Chris says, "A larger company bought out our company." All right, that's cool. Jason says, everyone loves working with you, Unky Joe. Unky Joe is definitely an interesting person to work with. Richard says, I am CFO with ICT Education. There's a lot of acronyms there. So you're Chief Financial Officer with ICT Education. Richard, can you tell me what that is in the comments? And maybe you're the other way, right? Where you were in IT and then learned a little bit about accounting, and the organization's like, this fella knows how to balance a checkbook. Put him in charge of the finances. That probably happens too. Weibo says, I prefer someone who tries to learn the terms as a leader and understands what he or she doesn't know, using the subject matter experts for those things. I totally agree. 100%. Unky Joe says, thank you, Jason's Lab. That's very nice. None of us know everything. I learn new stuff every day. Yes, that is true. None of us know everything. And I also learn new things every day. I sometimes go out of my way to learn things like, did you know that in St. Louis, Missouri, that is the only place that Panera Bread is called the St. Louis Bread Company? There you go. Good morning, Joe, with Learn Blue Iris. By the way, and maybe Tony can do me a solid and put this link in the chat. If you're looking for Blue Iris consulting, Blue Iris best practices, Blue Iris, learning Blue Iris, check out Learn Blue Iris. Our friend Joe over there is, in my opinion, probably the foremost Blue Iris expert around that you can hire and get help from. I am going to do a dedicated video soon. He's not paying me, about when we use Blue Iris versus when we use Synology versus when we use Ubiquity versus when we use Exact Vision, GeoVision, those kinds of things. So, and if you do go over and talk to Joe and you use his services, let him know that you came from the channel. Full disclosure, Joe and I do have a referral system worked out, but I could be that person that says, no, bring your Blue Iris consulting over here. But I know what I don't know, and I don't know Blue Iris as good as Joe at Learn Blue Iris. So if you need Blue Iris help, definitely check it out. If you're not subscribed to Learn Blue Iris, go subscribe. Joe does a really great job. Go subscribe to Tony and Unky Joe too, because they also do good jobs. Tony from Quick Tech says, we had a business administrator who single-handedly made IT decisions, then came up to us to pick up the pieces. Bad scene. Yeah, so I worked for a fella one time back when like high-speed internet hotels was just getting going, who bought these things. Like he bought, at the time it was Tut Systems, and Tut Systems ended up getting purchased by Cisco, but he bought this chassis, all these cards, all these end devices, and he says, make it work. Okie dokie, we'll make it work. That's what we did. Let's see. JH says, I've seen runaway heat in a data center. That's how bad I've seen it get. Yeah, runaway heat in a data center is not good. Absolutely not good. Even in a smaller server room, you know, where you got 5, 6, 7 racks, runaway heat is not good. I don't know what the heat tolerances are set to by default on servers, but I've seen it get so hot in smaller server rooms that the thermal protection kicks in on the servers and powers the servers off. That was a bad day. Unky Joe says, I work with a great group of folks with a low tolerance for BS. Yes, absolutely. Weibo says, sometimes there has to be a push to get something done in a team. It is much easier if you can lead by example. And show you are willing to listen and learn, encourage better behavior. Absolutely. Tom Major says, had a government boss refuse to allow us to put mailbox size limits in exchange. I don't even need to read anymore to understand that, that Tom, you had a bad experience. When you talk about no mailbox limits, that's a bad day. But let's finish it. Had a Mac user almost take down the server. Only thing that saved us was he ran out of space on his laptop. Yeah, see, so there should be send, receive, size limits. I do generally recommend, you're going to be upset at this recommendation, but I recommend a 50 megabyte limit on attachments. And then I do recommend, depending on the position in the company, absolutely having mailbox limits, right? So one time I had somebody try to email me an ISO from a CD. This was another IT person. I don't know if this IT person is watching. I don't know if this IT person watches regularly, but if that IT person hears me say someone tried to email me an ISO, an 800 meg ISO, and took down the email server temporarily, they're going to know who it is. Let's see. Chris says, question, remote sites in different states. IT management is in just one location. What's the best practice to keep IT staff in check, motivated, and engaged? They're basically their own islands. So I'm not actually opposed to, and I've had this talk, and I need to have this talk a little bit more in depth with some people. But a lot of organizations, you will see that they separate IT like this. That is because IT does not need to be part of the drama. And you need to have, so I literally talk to the people that I lead and the people that I manage. I talk to them. I don't micromanage. I am not a micromanager. But I talk to them, ask them how it's going. I'm really interested. Like, oh, hey, how was your weekend? Hey, your dog was sick. How's your dog? Oh, hey, your daughter was sick. How's your daughter? Oh, how's your wife? Like, I'm actually interested in the people that I manage and lead. And I try not to get nosy. I try not to get too far into the weeds. But you just be a person. I can't explain to you. This is just how I am. And if we can somehow figure out why I am the way I am, then I can answer that question a little bit better, because this is just, I don't know, you're a product of your environment and all of the people you've ever met. You pick up little things. Like sometimes when I'm talking to people, I'll pick up an accent or I'll pick up a phrase, So like I've just noticed over the last few days that my son and I, my oldest, that when we're listening, but we're not really listening, we both say, yeah, I gotcha. And I hate to say it, but I've now recognized that I know when I'm tuning out, because when I say that, I'm not fully engaged. So now I'm working on fixing that. But yeah, you actually have to be engaged with people, and you can be an introvert and still be an effective manager, in my opinion. I had a manager who was totally an introvert, and she is the top 3 bosses that I've ever had. All right, back to the comments. Richard says, no, I did both. First accounting and then the ICT. I'm still not sure what the ICT acronym is. I could probably guess. I could probably Google it, but could you tell us? Good morning, Michael Berg. Unky Joe says, want a challenge? Study the NIST framework and then bring your network up to those standards. Once you start learning, it becomes less scary, and most municipalities are asking if you're compliant. So the NIST framework is ginormous. Is huge, and it's best practices for federal installations as well as federal contractors. Now, NIST has more than one framework for different things. So don't think that the NIST framework is a one and done, and those standards are also always changing. So, oh, hey, Tony, I didn't know you were in transit. Thanks for doing that. And Joe, no problem. Joe, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, is the best there is when it comes to Blue Iris. Sean says, my senior director of IT didn't come from an IT background, but from education and development in the organization 6 years ago. He kept an open mind and empowered us existing leaders in the department. So, Sean, I do believe, yes, there are edge cases, corner cases, where those folks can do that. But it takes a special kind of person. And now here I am being that person who, like, put somebody into a bucket, but I've worked with a lot of C-suite executives and CFOs, and it's just like, people think because I'm in IT that I watch Lord of the Rings and Star Trek and Star Wars, and now it's open confession time. I read the J.R.R. Tolkien books. I like the books. I've never watched a movie. I've never watched a complete Star Wars movie, and I've never watched a complete episode of Star Trek. That's just not my jam. I'm more of a comedy action type person. So don't hate me. But you're always going to have edge cases. You're always going to have corner cases because we're not all the same. And that's what makes us awesome as people, is that we're not all the same and we're all playing off each other, right? So like imagine, and my friend Shannon, I don't know if he's watching, but a long time ago, we used to work together at a company, and we were talking about how people interact with each other. And he gave this analogy, and I don't know, I'm assuming he made it up, but he gave this analogy of how, we're like this snow globe. And when things, when our world view gets changed, our perspective gets changed. It's like somebody takes a snow globe and they shake the snow globe up, and we're all the little pieces of snow now interacting with other little pieces in this bubble. And I thought that was a great analogy. And I often will sit back and think about that. I appreciate that, Tony. So there's always going to be edge cases. There's always going to be corner cases where people are going to surprise you. And I love when that happens. I actually just had one of those yesterday. And it absolutely blew my mind and was a relief when the conversation was over. So I'm not saying that the director of IT can't come from a background. I'm saying that I believe the most effective leaders, so that's probably where I should have went, the most effective leaders come from in the trenches. And you can learn to manage people. Anybody can learn to manage people. I can teach you how to manage people. I can't teach you to manage people exactly the way I can, because it's not like I have this is an evolving thing every day. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be an effective leader. There's a difference between a manager and a leader. So JH says that the thermal tolerance on most servers is 110 degrees Fahrenheit. If Bob Carpenter is in the chat, that's 110 freedom units. Dr. Rob says, lost my client to a guy who's a web designer who says he knows Wi-Fi, and he convinced the company to pull a huge Ubiquity system I built and put in something he understands. He doesn't like Ubiquity. Yeah, you see that quite a bit, Dr. Rob. That's unfortunate, and says the system is down now 20 days. Well, Learn Blue Iris asks, what server, and that's Joe, by the way, what server brand do you recommend, Willie, for compute? I like 1U or 2U. Yes, I am a fan of 1U, 2U. I am a fan of Lenovo servers. I'm also actually a fan of super micro servers because they're so small. The other thing that I am a fan of for like home labs is those B-Link computers, and I'm going to order one and do a review on it because it's going to be a VM host here in the lab. And then the other thing that I bought this multifunctional power strip because that's why some of the hardware videos, I'm putting a lot of the knowledge videos out first so that everybody can watch those before I get back into the hardware, because I needed a new surge suppressor. So we'll talk about that. Tom says the Mac client got stuck trying to send a very large file over and over again. Outlook would have stopped it from happening, but we were forced to support a few Mac users. Bad day. Mac users aren't bad. Mac users are not bad. They're definitely the way that the Mac stuff interacts with your network is different, especially with domains. So, yes. Ask any questions you'd like, and we'll answer them if we can. If not, I'll get you to who we can. Yes, and Tony is now dropping links in the chat for all of the creators that are here with us. And thank you all for taking your time today to join us. Make sure, if you're not subscribed to all the creators, Tony is dropping in the chat that you go out and subscribe. There's also 55 of you here and only 22 likes. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button, since that's a good way to let the algorithm know you're enjoying this content. Let's see here. Yeah, I like Thunderbird. So JH has clients that cannot use cloud-based services. And JH still has PRIs, which basically is delivered over a T1. It's channelized and things. And there's a B channel, a signaling channel. I could bore you with this, but, because he can't use SIP. WordPerfect has an email program? No. Hold on a second. Hold the phone. Word perfect email client. JH may have just they had what? Word perfect mail. Also, I'm going to show you my new tattoo that I'm going to be getting. Let's see. I'm going to start a full sleeve, and I will show you what I'm going to get. I'm not getting the wording underneath it, but first let's check out WordPerfect. So here's WordPerfect Office Standard. I don't see. Where's it at? WordPerfect Mail. I don't know. Let's go back here. Products. Productivity. WordPerfect Office Professional. Is it professional? Let's see. WordPerfect, Quattro Pro, presentations, Lightning, database, Aftershock, multicam, capture light. Oh, that's interesting. JH, how do we get WordPerfect Mail? Let me know. I could probably dig around, but check this out. So I'm a pretty big fan of history in the olden days, and then how people can take free artistic license. And one of my favorite Westerns is Tombstone. And which, by the way, if you don't know what in vino veritas means, it means in wine there is wisdom, which is also a very you know what, now that I'm seeing this and I'm talking to you live, maybe I will put, maybe, I don't know, I kind of like that. But this is what I'm going to get without I'm your Huckleberry, which is actually, I'm supposed to be your Hucklebearer, right? Which has to do with, you know, people who carry your casket when you die. And then in the movie, it got changed to I'm your Huckleberry, but it's supposed to, I'm your Hucklebearer. Anyway, I'm thinking about getting this, and I was decided on this on my forearm here, and I'm going to get little silhouettes all over, and then in between them is going to be red, white, and blue, you know, kind of like Americana, like things that have had a big influence, big impact on me in my life. But I like this in vino veritas. I don't like the font, but I do like that. Yeah. But anyway, enough about me. Let's get back over to the live stream here. And all right, back over to the comments. Let's see. WordPerfect Mail is decent. Yeah, I couldn't even find WordPerfect Mail. Richard says ICT equals computer science in USA, I suspect. Oh, okay. That's cool. Richard, out of those, which one do you like best, the CFO side or the IT side? Alonzo says, every team say hello via Slack every morning. My team members spread across multiple states must have metrics without micromanaging. Yeah, micromanaging is not a good way to live. There are a lot of people who do micromanage. I am not one of them. It's not a good way for me to live, and it's not a good way for the people that report to me to live. You should hire people that you can trust to take those training wheels off. Otherwise, just do the job yourself and work yourself 100 hours a week, and it's not going to work out well for you. My opinion only. My opinion only. JH says Supermicro has some really dense compute in a 2U chassis. Yeah, absolutely. Joe says, thanks, Willie, on the server question. Consumer grade hardware has gotten so good it competes in speed, but probably not reliability. I don't know, man. I don't know. I've seen consumer grade hardware last a long time. And the other thing, Joe, that I didn't know until Tim was telling me this, and someone else told me how this works, is that the business world gets a generation of processor before home units get it. And I didn't know that till we were talking the other day. Cody says, I've been thinking about getting tats, but no clue what I would get. Well, here's one thing you shouldn't get, Cody, is you should not get the Ubiquity logo, because they've changed that logo since I've been working with them the last, decade or whatever. a little bit over a decade. They've changed that logo a lot, right? So you would, it would be like getting a girlfriend's, a temporary girlfriend's name tattooed on you. So don't do that, Cody. That's the one thing I can talk you out of. But I'm going to continue. It's going to be things, right? So like the red, white, and blue stuff will have to come much later because this is going to be things, and one of these days when my wife and I, when we're traveling, what a great conversation piece, we'll be sitting, she doesn't want to go to campgrounds, but I'm going to see if I can work on getting her to do some camping that's not glamping. And she's probably in the other room laughing at me, but what a conversation piece. We can sit back and talk about that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe my wife will get a sleeve too. We'll see. Roger says WordPerfect is still in large use by lawyers. WordPerfect, I loved the DOS-based WordPerfect with the big tiles at the top for your functions. And do you remember that when you could change the colors? So like the colors didn't have to be green on the buttons. You could change it to blue or red. I love that. JH says the email client is embedded inside of WordPerfect itself. What? I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to, I just read a comment. I'll get to it here in a second that just threw me totally off of what I was saying. I'm going to have to check out, I'm going to have to download the WordPerfect. See, I pay for Microsoft Office 365. So I'm going to have to download the WordPerfect trial. Jeremy says, I do love my 2U, 2-node Supermicro server. I have it here in my office studio. Yeah, my goal is to keep my office as quiet as possible and keep my power consumption as low as possible. I'm going to see if I can tease something here. So technically, I'm not supposed to put any teasers out about this until the 15th, but I'm going to put that. That wasn't a teaser. You have absolutely no idea what that is, who it is. I just saw it sitting there, and it's running, and it's silent. That's what reminded me of it. Cody says, LOL, I knew you were going to say that. I'd never get that. Haha. You should get some Siamese cats. A cat in a stroller and one of them bubbles, Cody. Yeah, that's right. Send a donation. That's the perfect design for you. And maybe get your future wife's, picture. Let's see. Richard says, first 30 years finance, the last 10 years computer science finance is too much regulations. Well, IT is about to become too much regulations in the United States. Let's see. Cody says they would have to pay me $1 million to get a UI tat. Well, how about prop up your a fake YouTube channel, Cody? How about if they did that? Would you get a UI? You could let them do a cold branding, or you know what? Maybe all of us creators, maybe we shouldn't be so excited to go to Vegas next year and go to that thing that Ubiquiti does, because maybe they're going to hold us down and they're going to brand us. That would be horrible. Let's see here. So I have several tattoos already. There's my Masonic tattoo. I've got a Jester moon and a regular moon. They're quarter moons. One's a Jester, one's a King. It represents a duality of man. And then I have my wife's initials under one of them. So, but yeah, I'm finally gonna do the whole sleeve. I think we're at a point where you don't get judged too harshly for that, right? All right, so now here's what we're doing is we are racing to the bottom in the comments. So you're all going to have to start commenting on this, because Cody started the bidding on the Ubiquiti tattoo on him at $1 million. And now Jeremy has said that if Ubiquiti won't come through on the cold million, that he'll do it for $500,000. So here we go. Get in the comments and start. Let's race to the bottom. See who's going to get the Ubiquiti tattoo for a little bit of nothing. Brian says, I'm pretty sure that the last time I used WordPerfect, it was on a 286. Yeah, it was on 386s and 586. Let's see. JH says 3U on a Supermicro. I can get 28 physical processors. That's crazy. Cody says if Ubiquiti would probably make him get the tattoo on his face. No, don't mess up your face, Cody. your forearm. And then what you could do is you could, as you're lifting weights or whatever, you and Tony could do a workout video together while Joe and I walk on the treadmill. But while you're lifting weights, you zoom in and get, you would have the UI thing on your arm and you could hear you going in the background. That's the perfect new intro for Ubiquity. I just nailed it. If they use that, I expect royalties. Let's see here. Roger says, no UI branding. You go to the train station. Absolutely. And if you don't watch Yellowstone, that was a Yellowstone reference, which is a great show. Kevin Costner is a fantastic actor. Everybody in Yellowstone is really great. And I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the cast is actually, some of them are really cowboys, cowfolk, whatever. I'm going to call them cowboys, real singers, things like that. Let's see. Learn Blue Iris says, did you hear that UI is one of the sponsors of Linus's LTX Expo? It doesn't surprise me because Linus is allowed to make videos about early access equipment when we're not. And I would love to know if he actually still has an affiliate link or if they took his affiliate link and just those of us who are smaller creators had our affiliate link removed. It's interesting. Tony says, I'm only busting, buddy. I'm up to 28 tats. That's a lot of tattoos, but keep going. So, yeah, no face tats. UI in the center of the forehead. That's hilarious. Well, I do want to thank you all for being here this morning. I've got to get rolling. And I know last week there was the guys were kind of laughing at me because they could still hear me and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to try to do something here as I phase out to see how this goes. Cody says, I feel Linus still has his affiliate links. Cody, check that out, would you? And then report back to us and let us know. And Sean says, next up, you're going to ask Graybeards if there are any Novell Netwear tattoos out there. I'm 100% sure there are Novell Netwear tattoos. All right, everybody, be awesome. Have a great Saturday. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.